Hello folks and welcome to another Richard Head Longbows video. I'm Phil and this is Richard, who the channel is named after.
Oh yeah.
I'm the young one with the soft pliable skin, he's the old one with the wrinkly skin and
God.
grey hair.
Well, can we do anything about it? Can we plane it off or
No,
scrape it off? And
no,
about the Botox
none of
you
those
promised
things.
me.
No, sadly none of these
Okay.
things are going to work. This is our 10-year challenge. This is the difference between 10 years, 10 years,
100 years.
All right, 100 years challenge, fair enough. Talking of challenges, last week we took a look at a bow from a customer of ours who was concerned about some marks in the sapwood of Self Yew bow, this bow that we have here. If you haven't seen that video, go and have a look at it, where we look at close up at some of the issues that have been found in this bow. It's a nearly 20-year-old bow. This is the follow-up to that, where we have been back to the customer with the options that we've got as far as repairing or potentially repairing this bow go. What options were you able to give to the customer and what can we do?
Either hang it on the wall, say it's had a good life, done
Yep.
very well, won a lot of tournaments, it doesn't owe anyone anything. Or we could try and save it by just gently scraping the back of the bow to see whether the very small lifts and scratches and all sorts of dents and bashes in the back of the bow, that's the sapwood side, whether we can remove them. If we can do it without taking too much wood off, shouldn't affect the bow too much. It's bound to reduce the weight a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for the customer. So we're going to give it a gentle scrape, see if we can remove those little lifts that are on the back. If we can, hopefully, fingers crossed, the bow will carry on and give another few years of life.
One of our YouTube followers asked, and you can probably see their comment underneath the previous video to this one, if money were no object, why not simply re-back the bow? Can we not do that?
Not so easy. With a Self Yew bow, we've got to flatten the back so that we can glue either hickory or bamboo to it. And when you've got a Self Yew bow, there's lots of undulations in the surface of the bow, so we've got to go up and down over those with the backing, making sure it's glued. Not easy to do. If we planed it all flat, we're really making or trying to make a new bow out of an old piece of wood. It won't be the same bow at all.
So you'd be basically reducing it so much you're essentially just using the heartwood as a piece of wood, piece of wood, and a different bow.
It would be a totally different bow.
Right.
It's not impossible to go over lumps and bumps. There's one here that we usually use as a demonstration piece, and you can see it was a piece of yew with no sapwood, but we have followed the grain with a very thin layer of hickory on the back, following the undulations of the bow. So it's not impossible, but difficult to do. And with an old bow like this yew bow, it would not be the same bow at all.
No.
Just say we're trying to make then a new bow out of an old piece of wood, which it just wouldn't be the same bow. It will probably end up as a junior bow, I should think. Not exactly what the customer wants.
No, exactly. And one other question someone asked on underneath the video was actually about the set that this is taking, because this is an example of an older bow which is still in use and has been used a lot. They were wondering what set this bow has actually taken.
Well, we don't really think it has. If you look at the top limb, it's, I think, as it was originally. The bottom limb has a bend in it, but again, I think that was there when we made the bow. So I don't think
trying to remember 20 years ago how the bow looked.
It's difficult.
It's a bit hard to say.
So I don't think it has. Any wooden article will follow the string, as we say, take a slight natural bend anyway. And each piece of wood is different. No two pieces are the same, but I don't think this has taken an awful lot of set. It's not much different, I think, from when we first made it.
Right. And as far as potentially, as we say, backing the bow, which we're not going to do with this because of the reasons Richard just explained, we do have an example of a bow which has suffered a fate of breaking, or at least cracking, on the back.
Yeah, this one's recently come to us from a customer. The tape, he's just marked the position, and it's very, very difficult to see, but the hickory backing is just starting to lift through there. It's obviously been hit at the side. There's a little mark there.
Yeah, you can see there's a hit sort of
Yeah,
mark.
it's been hit, and then the flexing of the bow has just lifted this quite a long spear-shaped piece of
It's probably
hickory.
4 inches or so.
It's quite long. What do we do with it? Could try and get some glue under it and bind it down. Might work. Or if the customer is willing to pay the cost of doing it, we will take the nocks off the end, take the handle off, all this handle material, plane off all of that hickory as best we can, bearing in mind that this has actually got some setback in it, this particular bow, and then we will reback it probably with bamboo, put the nocks back on, and see what it's like. It might be the same draw weight, it might be heavier, it might be lighter. We don't know, but it is possible to reback that. We've done it many times before, usually with success.
So with the laminated bows, you're looking at something that's a flatter bow
It's
as far
flat
as limbs.
Yeah, it's flat to
And
start
it's
with.
going to be easier for us to try and reback and remain the same bow.
Yeah,
As Richard explained, rebacking something isn't necessarily a problem, but it's the potential of that bow changing recognisably from what it originally was.
well, that's right. If it was a
which is the
£50 bow,
problem.
and by the time we finish messing around with it, it comes out at 35.
Yeah, it's
It's
not the same bow.
really what the customer wanted.
No, exactly. Well, let's have a go at this Self Yew bow with the scraper, and let's see whether we can get rid of some of those marks.
Right, we've got a small lift here, which was probably one of the initial ones the customer spotted. I've marked where it is with a bit of tape so that we don't forget where it was, and I'm going to scrape over there, see if we can get rid of that. If we can't get rid of it, there's not a lot of point in scraping the rest of the bow. So let's have a go with the scraper. Start to take the varnish off to start with. Seems to be disappearing. This back of this bow is just covered with scratches, dents, all sorts of stuff. Right, done that. Let's have a look. Magnifier. It's not quite gone. Let's take a little bit more. To remind myself of where it was. Yeah, I think we've got rid of that. Let's go on down a bit. There's another mark here, so there's obviously a nasty spot there, just at the edge. Again, I think it's disappearing. Another nasty piece there. You can see that lifting. See that? Yeah, there's a couple of marks here which could be just scratches in the varnish, or it could be the fibres of the wood starting to fail where it's been under so much tension. Let's give those a scrape, see what happens. I've taken the varnish off and they're still there. Yeah, it's more than a scratch in the varnish. You can see that's scraper's catching on it. But again, I think it's only on the top surface, isn't it? Yeah, see that caught there? Yeah, I think it was just under the surface. I'm going to mark there as well. Oh, that another little lift there. See if that goes. Yeah, I think that's gone as well. So that doesn't look too bad. So these marks that looked as if they could be a problem, I think we're just on the surface or just under the surface. I think we might be in luck, and the bow will be okay once we've scraped the whole of the limbs, sanded it down, and then check it on the tiller so we can see whether they reappear again once the bow is drawn and bent, and that tension back in the back. I've scraped the back of the bow to remove the worst of those little lifts and strange marks on it. Looks like we've got rid of them. So subject to scraping the rest of the bow, just in case there's something lurking that we haven't spotted, I'll scrape the rest of the bow, sand it down, and then put it on the tiller so that we've got that tension back in the bow and see if anything lifts up again. If it doesn't, we'll varnish the back of the bow and let the customer have it back, and hopefully it will then carry on shooting for a good few more years.
Another 20 years.
Yeah, you never know.
So potentially if some of those things that were just underneath the surface there, which I'm sure in the video, the close-up we just took, hopefully it was good enough quality that you could see those disappearing. Hopefully if those were just in the sub-top layer, so to speak, they won't reappear. But if they are bad, when you get it on the tiller, they will come back up.
Yes, if it's deeper, then yeah, they will resurface. So those lifts will start to come back again.
Right.
If that happens, we might just have to abandon it. Could possibly try putting in some special very liquid glue that we've got that would get into, by capillary attraction, will get into all those little lifts. But anything on the back of the bow, because of the tension, it's very difficult. I mean, people have put blooms in the back of bows, but they've often failed. There's so much tension there.
They just pop out again.
Yeah, so, but fingers crossed, they didn't look, once we got into them, didn't look that bad, and hopefully it'll be okay.
Great. Well, that's good. It's good news. We'll let you know actually what happens once we finally do all that work to it. Even if it does explode.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
We'll try and film it. And I think you should tell us about the jumper.
The jumper?
The Archer.
I knitted that myself.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I can see.
Well, we found that at the I don't know how old it is. I found it at the bottom of the cupboard.
More than 20.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
It probably didn't need scraping down.
Yeah, it might need washing. Anyway, I hope that was interesting,
And
folks.
A different jumper next time.
Yeah, oh, I really hope so. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe and like and comment underneath on what you'd like to see us do next. We'll see you again soon, folks. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.